All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you as always. I have an interesting topic for you. This is regarding whether the United States is getting into another war in the Middle East, or another, in other words, whether the U.S. has dragged itself into another war in the Middle East. It never ends, right? But this one is slightly different. The outcome, it's going to be different here. So this is what I'm going to be providing you, my own analysis regarding where things are headed vis-a-vis the Houthis, whether the US miscalculated and so forth, and we'll just go from there as to how this might evolve moving forward. All right, let's see who is here in our community today. Say hi to everybody like we always do. Grizzly, good to see you. That's an interesting screen name. Hanging G, as always. Good to see you. Willie Holman, Li Yang. I am Valentina. Good to see you. Oh, Hanging G, you mentioned about the F-18. Yes, I'm going to be talking about it. Truth Seeker, as always. Who else is here? Let me see. Abdul Falwan, good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while, so good to see you. Atin Wu, as always. YT, good to see you. And Francis Tango, as always. Adam Morocco, good to see you as well. Here's some. All right, guys, let's talk about, first of all, I want to just do a quick two headlines for you that you need to. I don't have a picture for this one, but this one has to do with what happened in Spain and Portugal yesterday. I think they went out of the blackout across the cities in Spain and Portugal. Now, here is the thing. One thing that we need to understand: yes, the power has been restored, but there are no answers as to really how this happened, what caused it. So that makes you just wonder. So that's something I don't know what they're gonna be arguing as to what the causes for that is. Second thing I want to share with you, which I am going probably to do a video for you, because you need to know most of the Western media are sidelining this particular topic, and this one has to do with Burkina Faso. Yeah, it's all the way in Africa. Sometimes you need to understand what other parts of the world that is experiencing certain aspects of all this. So now, this one pertains to the statement by this general here. This is Michael Langley. He is the head of the AFRICOM, the African Command Center. So basically what General Langley said is that Ibrahim Traore is a threat to its people. As a matter of fact, he issued a threat against President Ibrahim Traore. So, because that's what he said, and I quote: "The president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, is a threat to his people." End of quote. This is what General Langley said. So he's using, because here is again what Langley said, which Euro lies, it's a lie, and there is more than meet the eye. General Langley is saying that he meaning Ibrahim Traore, is using the country's gold reserves for personal protection rather than for the benefit of its people. End of quote. It's a lie. It is a lie. I've been reading about what's going on in Burkina Faso, and you won't believe the policies Ibrahim Traore has embarked on to push his country forward, because they don't need the Europeans, they don't need the Westerners, they don't need the imperialists anymore. And this is why, as a matter of fact, General Langley apologized for what he said. And it just didn't make any sense whatsoever for him to be saying what he's saying. And this is why I'm going to do a video for you guys, because you need to understand exactly the dynamics that is going on in that part of the world. So let me see one thing here that I think I read somewhere. Yeah, it was the chairman of the Armed Service Committee that's saying that, may I respectfully and humbly ask what your plans to with American government plan for Burkina Faso are. I and a million of Africans and non-Africans are shocked to learn your lines of questions and assumptions, which prompted General Michael Langley, commanding AFRICOM, to make such careless yet imperialistic comment that is outright fabrication of lies about Burkina Faso and its president, Ibrahim Traore. So very interesting. I'm going to share the link with you guys so you can read up on it if you decide to do that. Then I'll make a decision this afternoon whether to do it tomorrow or the following day. So, all right, let's get into our topic here, and we're going to be talking about literally the question that looms large, whether Mr. Trump has reached a dead end with the Houthis. Because like I said at the beginning of the campaign, when we start reading and all that, and there is a record for that, just go check out the video that I talked about this. And I said, this is going to end in two ways. Either we're going to have to withdraw, which will be bad news to begin with, or we're going to have to enter into some sort of negotiations behind closed doors through a third party, which mainly is going to be Qatar, maybe, Oman, maybe. I don't know the exact country that will be involved in something like this, to settle this in. And this is why Mr. Trump miscalculated, thinking now that is getting worse for him. Why? He's going to be going to the Middle East or West Asia. That will be bad news if the president of the United States visiting Middle East while the missiles are being fired. So, and this is again, we're looking after now 6 to 7 weeks after this intensive U.S. raids and on the areas that is controlled by the Houthis, or Ansar Allah, that is, to no avail. You know, the group continues, Houthis that is, continues to assert that its operations in the Red Sea and against Israel also will not stop. And this is again why the media is cherry picking about what this is the missiles, by the way, of the Houthis, by the way, just wanted to share that with you. Why the media is not reporting the facts as they are. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share a clip with you from Al Jazeera. I'll do the translation for you. It's a long one, but I'm not going to do the whole video. It's about 45 minutes. I'm going to do the first 2 minutes that they are crucial. We listen to one comment by the representative of Al Jazeera in Washington, and I'll translate this for you. Then I'll go into my analysis. So let me share the screen with you here, guys. Then and I'll do the translation for you as we listen to it. All right, let me make the screen bigger here. All right, take a listen, guys.
نحو 6 أسابيع من الغارات الأمريكية المكثفة على المناطق والمدن الخاضعة لسيطرة جماعة أنصار الله في اليمن.
This is after 6 weeks of the intensive attacks on the regions that are controlled by the Houthis.
لا تزال الجماعة تؤكد أن عملياتها في البحر الأحمر وضد الأهداف الإسرائيلية لن تتوقف.
This is why the Houthis have confirmed that their operations against both the U.S. Assets in the Red Sea or aircrafts and so forth, and the Israelis, both the attack on both locations will not stop, according to the Houthis.
إلا بوقف الحرب الإسرائيلية المتواصلة على قطاع غزة.
And this will only stop if the Israelis stop their war against Gazans.
وفي هذا السياق أعلن المتحدث العسكري باسم جماعة أنصار الله يحيى سريع استهداف قاعدة نيفاتيم.
And within this context, the spokesperson of the Ansar Allah, Yahya Sari', Major General Yahya Sari', indicated that they targeting 2 locations in Israel. One,
الجوية الإسرائيلية في النقب بصاروخ باليستي.
In the Negev with a ballistic.
وموقعين آخرين في منطقة تل أبيب ومنطقة عسقلان.
And 2 other locations was in Tel Aviv, another location, the targeting location in Tel Aviv, and another one in Asqalan, or Asqalan that is.
كما أعلن استهداف قطع حربية في حاملة الطائرات الأمريكية.
Here is the key that I need you guys to understand. he also, a bit, according to the broadcasters here, that Yahya Sari also indicated that the targeting of certain assets of the aircraft carrier Harry Truman in the north of the Red Sea. And that's put the question for us. Did the fall of the F-18 into the sea, we're gonna detail a little bit about this, but just makes you just wonder. And this is one thing I need to draw your attention to.
الأمريكية SS هاري ترومان شمالي البحر الأحمر، وأكد سريع أن العمليات العسكرية حققت أهدافها بنجاح.
And Yahya Sari confirmed that the operations achieved their objectives.
وأنها جاءت ردا على ما سماه العدوان الأمريكي المستمر.
And this, of course, came in reaction to the aggression by the United States
على اليمن بشكل يومي.
On the aggression by the United States on Yemen on a daily basis. Because literally, so far, guys, you need to know that we conducted almost 800 raids. What have we achieved? Nothing. So, and we'll get into this once I continue this one here, guys.
وشدد سريع على أن جماعة أنصار الله لن تتوقف عن عملياتها العسكرية وأنها ستواجه التصعيد
Basically, Yahya Sari confirmed that the group will not stop its operations
الأمريكي بتصعيد مماثل
and will retaliate with sort of a similar way that the United States. If the United States increases its targeting, so the Houthis will do the same. That's just, it's almost tit for tat. That's basically.
بالمقابل شنت الطائرات الأمريكية الليلة الماضية غارتين على ميناء.
And this is an air raid by the United States last night on it says right there, الجيش الأمريكي شن غارتين, which means conducted 2 raids on the Ras Isa port, this is an oil port in الحديدة. حديدة, it's a province, a big one.
رأس عيسى النفطي بمحافظة الحديدة الساحلية، وهو الميناء الذي تعتبره واشنطن مصدرا رئيسيا.
And this is the port that Washington is considered one of the main source of fueling for the group or Ansar Allah.
للوقود الذي يستخدم في تمويل أنشطة جماعة.
And this fueling is what helps the group conduct its operations and so forth.
أنصار الله. وبينما تؤكد القيادة الوسطى الأمريكية أن ضرباتها دمرت العديد من منشآت.
Now, this is very crucial, guys, for you to really pay close attention. And luckily it's written in Arabic, but I will also do my best to translate this way. This is now their statement by the Central Command. And listen to what the Central Command are saying. The Central Command, or the broadcasters, let me.
القيادة والتحكم وأنظمة الدفاع الجوي ومواقع.
Basically, it stated that the Central Command is stating that they have destroyed the central commands for the Houthis. They destroyed the launching pads for the missiles and so forth, and also they destroyed the depot where the weapons is stored. This is what the Central Command is saying.
واقع تخزين الأسلحة ما أدى إلى انخفاض.
Which led to the decrease of the launching of the missiles, the ballistic missiles in Yemen, to about 87%. And also the drones by about 65%, which you and I know it's a lie. But this is what the Central Command is saying.
عمليات إطلاق الصواريخ البالستية بنسبة 87% وهجمات المسيرات بنسبة 65% نقلت شبكة CNN.
However, here is again what the CNN is saying in contradiction to what the Central Command is saying. Take a listen.
الأمريكية عن مصدرين قولهما إن القصف الأمريكي المستمر منذ نحو 6 أسابيع.
Basically, what CNN is saying, according to 2 sources, is that for the last 6 weeks, that the U.S. raids have not diminished or impacted the capabilities of the Houthis, nor did it destroy the infrastructure, meaning for the command of the group.
لم يؤثر على قدرات الحوثيين في
Yeah, لم يؤثر. This is a very crucial word, meaning that it does not impact.
مواصلة إطلاق الصواريخ ولا على بنية القيادة والتحكم لديهم. وقال مسؤول أمريكي للجزيرة إن الحوثيين تمكنوا من
And another US official disclosed to Al Jazeera that the Houthis were able to down many of the drones, which you all know. As a matter of fact, they just downed another one, and for the MQ9. So, and this was during the last one that was conducted recon. One of them was recon, and another one I think was for an attack.
إسقاط عدد من المسيرات الأمريكية أثناء قيامها بطلعات هجومية أو عمليات مراقبة.
Yeah, either doing an attack, conducting an attack, or doing a recon flight.
أوضح المسؤول الأمريكي أن الحوثيين يستخدمون منظومات صواريخ.
The US official indicated to Al Jazeera that the Houthis are using the surface-to-air missiles, which those are, by the way, Iranian-produced. That's how they are downing the MQ9, because MQ9 flies very, very high.
أرض جو إيرانية الصنع في التصدي لهذه المسيرات المتطورة من طراز MQ9 Reaper. وتحدث المسؤول الأمريكي عن مناقشات تجري بشأن الخيارات المتعددة.
And now this particular official is now disclosing that there is a conversation inside the halls, inside Washington, basically, as to what are the options. And I'll let you listen to the last part before.
علق بالحملة العسكرية على الحوثيين بين تصعيد الضربات أو إنهائها.
Okay, and this conversation basically is about whether to increase the intensity of the raids or stop completely. So I'm going to do one more few minutes here, then I'll move into my own analysis, because I need you to listen to the comment by the correspondent in Washington.
نبدأ النقاش في هذا الجزء الأول من البرنامج مع زميلنا في الاستوديو أحمد الشلفي محرر الشؤون اليمنية في قناة الجزيرة، ومن واشنطن ينضم إلينا مراسل الجزيرة فادي منصور. مرحبا بكما، وسنبدأ معك فادي لنفهم.
Yeah, she's saying basically welcome to our guest, and we're going to start with our correspondent in Washington.
أكثر كيف تقيم الولايات المتحدة؟
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not showing you the video there. Sorry.
حاليا وضع جماعة أنصار الله، وكيف يبدو هذا الوضع بالمقارنة مع حساباتها عندما بدأت تنفيذ هذه الضربات على اليمن؟
Basically, the question, guys, which is a logical question, what is now, where does the US stand regarding what's going on right now in comparison to when it started the raids? Because remember, that was Mr. Trump that said, you all remember when he was running for, I said, I will end the Ukrainian war in a phone call, and I will end this Red Sea blockade in no time. So that was the question by the correspondent, which is a logical question to ask. So let's listen to what the correspondent is saying.
نعم ألسي، العملية العسكرية التي أطلقتها إدارة الرئيس الأمريكي دونالد ترامب ضد أنصار الله الحوثيين توشك أن تدخل أسبوعها الثالث، ونحو 800 هدف جرى.
I think he made a mistake. He meant to say the seventh or sixth weeks, not the third. But okay, slip of a tongue, no problem.
ضربها من قبل القوات الأمريكية التابعة للقيادة الوسطى في منطقة الشرق الأوسط. الجملة الوحيدة التي يقدمها المسؤولون العسكريون الذين أتحدث إليهم في البنتاغون أو المسؤولين الأمريكيين في سياق تقييم العملية أنها تحرز تقدم.
Now, here is the thing that I need you guys to pay close attention to. And this is the correspondent saying, reporting on what the officials are saying. So basically the Central Command, which the one that is under the its authority, that these raids are being conducted, because the region is the Middle East. Middle East falls under the Central Command. So, and this is now that they're saying that, oh, the operations have destroyed so many the infrastructure, the leadership of the Houthis, and also the launching systems. This is what he is saying.
لكن عندما نتابع السؤال حول كيفية تقييم هذا التقدم يمتنع المسؤولون.
However, when we ask them about how can we assess what you guys are saying that is true, they refuse to answer because the evidence does not support what they are saying, which is a good point.
عن الإشارة إلى أي مؤشرات واضحة في هذا الإطار إلا من قبيل الحديث كما أشار لنا مسؤول أمريكي يوم أمس أن هذه الضربات حتى هذه اللحظة قضت على نحو 650 من عناصر أنصار الله في
Except that now they don't want to talk about almost providing evidence that what have you achieved so far, except that the Central Command or the representatives who talk to the correspondent in Washington saying that, oh, we have killed over 600 individuals pertaining to the Houthis. That includes the leadership, which is, it's, you're not going to trust what's coming out of the Pentagon and so forth. So
بأنهم رتب متفاوتة، لكن الهدف المعلن من هذه الحملة هو إعادة إرساء حرية الملاحة في المنطقة.
And what they're saying, basically, the objective of all this is to restore free navigation in the Red Sea, which of course we have failed to do so thus far.
وفي هذا السياق يقول المسؤولون الذين نتحدث إليهم أن هناك تقييم عمليا إلى أين وصلت هذه العملية وكيفية السير بها. من بين الخيارات المطروحة هي مسألة التصعيد مصدر.
Now, he is stating that according to these individuals, now they are disclosing that we are assessing and evaluating thus far all the raids and all that stuff. What have we achieved? And we are at a cross point, almost similar, at a cross point where we have to decide whether to increase the intensity of the attacks on the
واحد على الأقل تحدثنا إليه قال من ضمن هذه الخيارات مسألة استهداف القيادات الرفيعة لدى أنصار الله الحوثي.
Now, one of the individuals who talked to the correspondent saying one of the objectives is to target the high level leadership of the Houthis. Now, here is one thing I need you to understand: the structure of the Houthis. It's not like this open, clear, because who controls the country? The Houthis control Yemen, but they have tens of thousands of individuals that are part of the military, the people's military, if you want to use the term. They don't have the way you and I understand the structures of how it is. This is why we don't know who to target. We have no idea where that layers of the command is, and that's exactly what this U.S. Representatives told the correspondent, that now the objective is to target the high-ranking leadership of the Houthis, because those are the one that holds the key to all this.
في هذه الهجمات، وبالتالي هناك تقييم إيجابي وإن كان بالمجمل ليس هناك ما يقدمه الجانب الأمريكي بمعنى الدلائل، فضلا عن النجاحات الأخيرة التي أشرت إليها لأنصار الله.
Now, there is that assessment that is provided by the U.S., but of course there is also the evidence that what the Houthis have provided as far as the targeting, which I can see that argument, because if you go back 4 or 5 weeks ago, when the USS Harry Truman made the decision to move to north of the Red Sea, the Pentagon issued a statement that, that's due to maintenance and is supposed to go back to the United States, to return to the United States. Well, guess what? Harry Truman never returned to the United States. As a matter of fact, we added the second aircraft carrier, and it shows you right there that the raids have not achieved their objective. We got a few more seconds on this one here, guys, and I'm gonna move on to the analysis. Let's continue here quickly.
في ضرب المسيرات من طراز MQ9 وهي مهمة للغاية في مسألة.
And this has to do with the success of the Houthis for downing the MQ9, because that's evidence, you see. So when the US is saying we have destroyed the launch pads for the missiles, we have destroyed the leadership, we killed over 600. So you killed over 600 civilians, majority of them. You have targeted, meaning the US, targeted the residential locations, not the militaries, because we couldn't. We don't know where the weapon storages are and where the launching pads for the missiles and the ballistic missiles and so forth. So this is where the difference is. I got a few more seconds here.
تحديد الإحداثيات والاستطلاع وكلفة كل واحدة منها نحو 30 مليون دولار.
Now what he's saying about how each drone, which cost over almost $30 million each, Houthis were able to down them. As a matter of fact, I did see a report that indicated that so far, just on the drone part, we have caused, the Houthis have caused the damage of over $200 million. And in a total of all US raids since March 15th, across over $1 billion. And what have we have to show for? So you all know what it means. You all know what it means. So let's finish this here quickly. And the reason I wanted to do this, guys, for you, because this stuff does not get reported here in the US.
أحمد الشلفي، كيف يمكن وصف الأضرار التي لحقت بالجماعة، خصوصا أننا نراها.
Okay, I'm going to stop right here, guys, because I have a lot to cover on my own regarding the analysis here. And this hit sort of spot on the idea that what the Houthis, you compare what the Houthis have achieved with far less versus what the US have lost with so much. Of course, when this started, it's no brainer. We have so much weapons and all that stuff. And of course, the balance of power was tilted towards the Americans, their favorite per se. But this didn't intimidate the Houthis. And that's the mistake we make. This is the so-called arrogance. We are thinking that our might is going to defy all the logics that those people will not take stand. We were wrong. You will think we will learn from history. Look just what happened in Vietnam. Look what happened in Laos, Cambodia, Afghanistan, Iraq, even Yemen back in 2015 and 16, Somalia. And you will think we will learn from all this. And this is why I am starting to lean more towards asking that question. Are we being sucked into yet another war in West Asia or Middle East? Because Houthis, or Ansar Allah that is, are as ferocious fighters as you can even imagine. And that's the mistake we made. So, and this is why you have to think in terms of where this is going, how it's going to end. And that's usually highlight to you, like I argued in my, and I'll be sharing with you, by the way, guys, some excerpts from some of my books, because I addressed this, especially the first book. I remember addressing this one. I argued back then, and here's what I wrote. The failure of the United States foreign policy in the Middle East is attributed to an ambiguous policy, an ill-defined strategy. Iran understood early on that a chaotic Middle East not only entangles the US and drains its resources, but also provides Iran with the opportunity to further its aspiration in the region. And that is exactly what happened during the invasion of Iraq, where the United States failed to understand that supporting a Shia government at that time in Baghdad under the poor leadership of the former Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki created the back door for Iran to manage Iraq's internal affairs. That was exactly what I wrote back then. And the reason I'm saying this, because I had a chance to deal with the high-ranking individuals in Iraq at that time who were advising Prime Minister Maliki, but I was, of course, helping our side by understanding the cultural differences. And I made my case back then. You are dealing with a fraudulent individual here. Nouri Maliki was as corrupted as it gets. So my point in all this is that the United States doesn't have a well-defined cohesive strategies. And this now is displayed by the ill-conceived strategy that Mr. Trump was thinking, oh, I'm just going to go and sort of lift the blockade on the Red Sea. Well, yeah, good luck. Now we have in our aircraft carriers there and so forth. What have we achieved? Nothing. And that is exactly where my points. And this is why you have to understand when we go and bomb the fuel, the port in Hodeidah, Israelis have done this so many times. and they couldn't defeat the Houthis. What makes us think that? What makes us think that we will? The same argument I have made about Afghanistan. You look at how many Western powers tried to invade Afghanistan, they never succeeded. Even you go as far back in history as Alexander the Great couldn't do it. So what makes the British think that they could do it? What makes even the Soviet Union back then, even though the case for the Soviet was very different, the Soviet was there at the invitation of the government. This is what is not understood, and I disclose this in my Russia book. This is what even Mr. Trump does not understand when he used the term the Russians, the Soviets have invaded Afghanistan. You have to understand the history, because the government in Afghanistan was the one that invited the Soviet Union at that time, because they were communists and they wanted to have the support. So, but in any event, they couldn't do it. And when we went in after 9/11, we're thinking, oh, we're going to just take over Afghanistan. Yeah, good luck with that. We all saw what the outcome is. And this is exactly when you see the US conducting these raids and all that. What for? And that's what lead now the US into sort of, there are no other options. You can bomb whatever you want. You just bombing the civilians. As a matter of fact, there are now members of Congress that are questioning the policy of the United States in targeting civilian locations. So that becomes almost the question, what makes us different than Israel does doing in Gaza? And all the Houthis were asking is for Israel to stop its attacks on Gaza and allow food and so forth. And now, which once again, it's not disclosed, the US is trying to pressure Israel to agree to a ceasefire, because if the ceasefire is achieved, the Houthis will stop attacking. So, and Houthis made it clear. I tip my hat to them, guys, for the courage they have. Most Muslim countries are spineless. They are pathetic. I don't shy away from saying any of them. No exception. Of course, Yemen and Iran. The rest of them, and I know someone last time made a comment about, oh, Dr. Oh, you were wrong about Egypt, and Egypt is strong, whatever. Where is this strength? It's almost like when you say, when leadership matters, then you show it. When it matters, this is now when it matters, because what has been going on in Gaza. So where are the Muslim and the Arab world leaders that is into that? You know, Houthis now is taking a stand. And this is exactly where you have to think in terms of how, because the US has failed now miserably. I disclosed this at the beginning of the raids in March 15, that Mike Manward is going to have only two options. Either you negotiate with the Houthis for some sort of settlement of sort, which is going to have to be done through a third party, usually because we won't be able to do I mean, just imagine, guys, a representative of the US is sitting with the Houthis to negotiate. The optics of it. And like I always say, in the world of international relations, optics matters. Optics matter. And this is again, and that's why the strikes have failed miserably. No matter what the Pentagon is saying, we destroyed this, and it's a lie. It's a lie. And this is why. And the way you know it, you know how you know this one? The ability, because when you go into a setting like this, you go into phases. We are still in phase one, which means we couldn't move to the phase two, whatever that phase two is. And that shows you're right. We couldn't even move from phase one to phase two, because we didn't expect the outcome. And that is exactly where the problems. And this is now where you have a conversation inside Washington quietly. What are the alternatives now? Because you only have two scenarios, that is. Either you halt and stop all the military raids, okay? Which means you have to accept some sort of, you couldn't defeat a group, the Houthis. You know, this is not Iran. This is not a well-structured military and so forth, but they are ferocious. I tell you, as one who spent time in Yemen, you know, wonderful people, don't get me wrong. You know, they'll take the shirt out of their back. They treated me so kindly because they look at me as a human being, no more, no less. And to me, I made it clear, I am looking at you as another human being. What government does versus what people are two different things. But I also know how ferocious are when it comes down to fighting. Because we couldn't defeat them back then. The Saudis couldn't do it. The Emiratis couldn't do it. Even though 6 other Arab countries joined the Saudis to fight against the Houthis because they were bribed with money. What a shame. And look at now, what are they doing for what's going on in Gaza? Only Houthis have to extend. And this is why when you have to think about this, the optics of it, the Houthis have succeeded. While at the same time, the failure of the US is being exposed. So this is, again, what you need to understand about the reality of what's going on. Liking this video so far? Don't just be a watcher. Go ahead and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget to tap the bell so you will not miss any of my videos or live streams. This way, you will be supporting a channel that stands for the truth and objective reporting. The choice is yours. Thanks for your support. Now, you're going to have to think about, is it fair, which is a fair question. I'm sure you guys asking, and I'm going to ask you because I need you to be, I need to know what you're thinking. In your opinion, did Donald Trump reach a dead end? Yes or no? Yes or no? Well, yeah, just yes or no. In your opinion, based on what you have learned so far, and I've did so many videos for you guys, in your opinion, did Donald Trump reach a dead end regarding the Houthis? Let me see your answer, guys, because I need to. YT, you say yes. Truth Seeker, you say yes. Farouk, you say yes. AF Gordon Carleon, you say yes. Massian Dorsey, yes. Amanda, yes. Ed Pau, that's my son trying to call, and I'm gonna have to tell him to wait. I'm doing live stream here. Pardon me, guys, just quickly. He'll understand. Barbara, you say yes. Manny 84, you say yes. Carla Mick, you say yes. Bamboo, you say, you guys get the point. You get the point. And that's exactly where we are. We reached the dead end, because now what we have set, the objective of we're going to lift the blockade and we're going to kick the Houthis out, those were unrealistic objectives. Because the Houthis still hold the blockade on the Red Sea. Ask any American company or any Israeli company or any other company in the world that can use its ships in support of the Israelis that can cross the Red Sea. No. And this is, once again, because at the beginning, and that's what most Americans do not understand. And again, I have nothing against Mr. Trump. I don't care for Mr. Trump. He has his life, I have mine, whatever. But I knew a little about when it comes down to politics and how people can be manipulated. He is good at that. He manipulated the masses. The masses fall for it. Of course, the previous administration wasn't any better. As a matter of fact, it was even worse. And that's where I always feel comfortable saying, both Republicans and Democrats, two faces of the same coin. That's the reality of it. But the bottom line is this. This is where the concept of this military might is going to succeed. It's wrong. Because here is the example, the evidence. We were unable to defeat the Houthis. But remember, Houthis are a group. Houthis are not a country. In other words, are not a state the way you and I understand. Can you imagine if they have access to all those resources? So sky is the limit. And this now leads me to address one particular aspect that happened regarding the fall of the F-18s. So you think about, of course, this one received much more attention in the Middle East, West Asia, Arab world, and so forth than it did in the West. Of course, you know why, mainly in the US. You know why. When an F-18 crashed while aboard an aircraft carrier, and not any other aircraft carrier, it was this one right here, and I confirmed it. Let me show you the picture. Right here, Harry Truman. Yeah, in the Red Sea. So that just makes you just wonder. Now, I did read one report that suggested that the F-18 the aircraft carrier wanted to maneuver and maneuvered very hard to avoid some sort of firing from the Houthis. And of course, the aircraft was closer to the edge and it fell. You decide. I am just going to share with you what I digged into, but let you reach your own conclusions. So to avoid shocking the American people and the Arab allies, because the American recognitions are being made gradually. So here is the thing. The fear in the United States of the collapse of its weapons. This is where the concern is. So, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to share with you where I saw this one here in its original language, and I'll provide the translation just as we look at it. No, not this one. Share screen. Share screen. Here we go. Sorry, guys. Now, and I want to show you two things to those who understand Arabic. But I'll translate to you. So, what you need to understand, first of all, I need to show you the date of when this happened. Look at these dates right here. I'm going to highlight it right there. I don't know if it shows on. Yeah, that's April 29th. What is today's date? April 29th. Okay. And this is where I need you to, I'm going to show you one particular. This is where I get the picture right here. This is the fear of what's going on. For this is about the US F-18 jet that crashed from the aircraft carrier Truman. Okay. And I'm just going to go all the way down to another right here. This is very, very important to understand. What's in this? And I translated for you. This is for the first time an F-18 fighter jet has been. Now, you can either use the term shut down or just fell while taking off from an American carrier. You know, this is, according to that narrative in Arabic, this is disturbing and surprising message indicating how serious this outcome is. And as a matter of fact, the Houthis have confirmed that they are, what's coming, it's even more disturbing. This is one, this is in Arabic, Tamma Isqa, the shutdown of an F-18 over the Red Sea. The Americans will acknowledge this, however, in a lie. ولكن بطريقة كاذبة. In other words, they will admit to it, but it's going to be differently. So, and this is just an example. This one is talking about, we have not read in the military history the fall of an aircraft, the fighter jets from an aircraft carrier in the sea, you know, because of the advancements in technology and so forth back then. How this could happen in 2025 or when we have these technological advancements and so forth. And that's exactly what I wanted to share with you to make my point. So now you think about all this. I had a chance to read up some analysis by a retired general from Lebanon. His name is Elias Hana. I don't know if you guys, you probably will not know who he is. And you know, when you go through the military, you will know who will come to the US to train. I used to get involved in training foreigner stuff that they deal with countries and all. So you kind of remember who's who. And the general, he's retired, Elias Hana, he was in the United States. As a matter of fact, he's a retired general in the Lebanese army, and he graduates of the US Air Force War College and Staff College with distinction. So he's a very, very distinguished individual. So I've been following him. I read sometimes his assessments, and I couldn't agree more. Except that there is one aspect of it, is that for the loss on the Americans is tremendous, not in materialistic aspect, is in the image and the credibility. So because now what you have, the image of the US is already suffering more than what it already is. That's like our credibility that has been shattered beyond. And because given the scale of the military campaign that we have been conducted, but we have not achieved anything. And of course, what what Mr. Trump was saying, you all remember, and I quote here, Trump said, "We will withdraw from all world's wars," end of quote. Where is it? The same guy who said, "I'm going to end the Ukraine war in a phone call or in 24 hours. Good luck with that. And this is why sort of where you start to realize even the cost, how much is costing us taxpayers for something that have nothing to do with our welfare, as the whole country, my country right here, is entering into recession. It's going to be very bad. I'm not the bearer of bad news, but I can't sugarcoat it. If only Americans understand what lies ahead and what's coming. Thinking that Mr. Trump is going to save the country. No, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. Because you look at now the results of this, and we're going to have once again be humiliated in ending this saga that we get ourselves into. So it's because to the Houthis, the objective has been achieved. It's more of a strategic and political one than it is materialistic. Yeah, this is what it is. And when the American president saying, well, we're going to have to restore peace through strength, and the sort of you announce that this deterrence is what's going to be now open up the doors of navigations in a Red Sea. Nonsense. Have we achieved that? Because it has not been achieved. So that tells you right there. So, and of course, we couldn't target the exact pinpoint locations despite our satellites and all that. We couldn't pinpoint exactly where the leadership of the Houthis are. It's because it is structured differently than the common way we do it here in the West. The high ranking, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And this is, again, where you have to think about this transformation that is taking place in the region. And we don't seem to understand or learn from history, because the Middle East, or West Asia that is, has always been going through a major political transformations. It's just a matter of how you play it out. And this is why that transformation has compelled regional and major powers alike. That includes Iran, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, United Kingdom, you name it. It forced everybody now to go back to the drawing board, sort of to determine what kind of strategies we should pursue for one objective and one objective only, to secure, excuse me, to secure our respective interests in the region. Yeah, because now you take a step back and you ask yourself, for the Houthis, for the Americans, we are sucked in now. We have no way out. The only way out is either to withdraw or you enter into negotiations. It's a win-win for the Houthis, no matter how you slice it. The Houthis have already informed their population what lies ahead is very hard. The destruction that the Americans are going to cause will continue. But also, we take stand. This is, once again, you tip your hat to the Houthis instead of all the Arab and Muslim leaders. No, I just don't do well with hypocrisy. That's just not my thing. It's not my thing. So all Arabs is doing are talking. They have been talking for the last 2 years about Gaza. What have they done? It's because the way you look at it, guys, and don't get me wrong, we all, I don't know whether you have kids or not, But what you are seeing in the images, that could be yours. That could be your kid one day. Who wants that? And if you could have a compassion, or you have some human capacity to feel and understand the pains of others, then there is something wrong. You have to look inward and start to reconsider your priorities in life. So life is not just about you. And this is the problem with the Arab and Muslim leaders. They just, they're pathetic. That's my opinion. And that's the way I look at it. And because here is the thing, the Houthis, were they able to succeed on both fronts? Because now you have the failure of Washington to achieve his objectives against the Houthis. You have also the pressure the Houthis are posing on Israel. So it's because this is why now the US, behind closed doors, is trying to convince Netanyahu to allow the delivery of aid and, of course, a ceasefire, because that's all the Houthis were asking about, for the sake of Gazans. Yeah. Where are the Saudis? Where are the Jordanians? Where are the Egyptians? So all of them, no exception. Even Iraq. I'm starting to see now the policies of the Sudani, the prime minister of Iraq. It's another no-no. The guy is playing both sides, dragging Iraq into some uncharted territories. So, and this is why you have to understand this within the optics of global affairs, international relations, and even the geopolitical landscape. Mr. Trump's upcoming trip to the region, they wanted to have one way or another some sort of a de-escalation. They are not achieving that with the Houthis, because what the Houthis said is, we will escalate if you escalate. In other words, we are ready for whatever. So, because think about it, guys, the optics, American presidents, doesn't matter, it's pathetic anyway. American presidents arrive into the region while at the same time the Houthis are launching missiles. Just think about it. Think about the optics of that. And this is where you have to understand what the Houthis are asking versus whether the US can deliver on that or not. So, and all they are asking, once again, I need to reiterate this, because no Arab country ever stepped forward and asked for similar conditions that the Houthis are, which is nothing but ceasefire for Gaza. Tell me if there's any Arab country that condemned what's going on in Gaza. Oh, we're going to have to work on ceasefire. We're going to have to work on this. You know how it is. You know how it is. And that is exactly when you have the US targeting this 700-800 targets with over 300 airstrikes, whatever. What had we achieved? What have we achieved? And they're lying about, they, meaning in Washington, oh, we have forced them out into confusion. We destroyed this and destroyed that. No, it's a lie. You haven't destroyed anything. This is the hard reality of it. That's, to me, where that difference is. So I was going to share one particular, no, that was just the Yahya Sari's statement, and I already disclosed that to you earlier, guys. So, because he did this, and I quote here because I saved this for you guys to know. He said, and I quote, "We carried out 2 drone operations against 2 targets in Jaffa and Ashkelon." And again, and those, by the way, they used a Palestine 2 missile, and they used which is a hyperballistic missile. Let me see if I have a picture of it. No, I don't. I used to have a picture. Is the ballistic missile, not this one. I don't think so. Is this one here. So, and this is where that difference is. And when you think about, like I argued in my in my first book about the Middle East or West Asia, that is, because it became clear to me as to the confusion of the American system here. Here's what I wrote back then. Washington must quit squabbling and focus on what lies ahead post-nuclear Iran. The US also needs to heed how China and Russia intend to behave in the region, given this inevitable geopolitical shift. It's almost like I was seeing what's coming over the horizon. You know, American policymakers assume that a direct conflict with China is unlikely. However, the possibility for such conflict exists if A, China's economy continues its healthy growth, B, the United States engages in another war in the Middle East that could interrupt China's access to energy sources there, and C, China embarks on assertive foreign policy in the Middle East in addition to the one in East Asia. With a high degree of certainty, the national security interests of both the US and China will collide. That was my argument back then. And only to see that things are emerging right in front of my eyes. And that is the reason why I wanted to share this with you, for you guys to know. So, let me say thank you to some super sticker individuals. By the way, I will greatly appreciate your support for my upcoming trip to Asia. You know, I have about 4 months to go. So I will greatly appreciate if you can support this trip. If you want to, it's your decision, no more, no less. So I'm very, very grateful either way. This is if you want to support the channel, I will be very grateful to you for that. Let me just say thank you to Francis Tango. Let me start with you. Hi, Dr. O. May parade in Moscow, ceasefire or not? You're absolutely correct. That's a big one. That's coming in May. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Thank you, Francis. Stephen Hayes, greatly appreciate you. You know, Mark Carney campaigned on Canada's sovereignty, 100% decoupling from the US, and a new option on defense foreign policies. What? Monroe Doctrine, empire strikes back. Nothing. So thank you very much, Stephen. I am yet to see what between Mark Carney and Poilievre. Poilievre became clear to me that it's no for what he's saying and what he plans to do regarding the support for Palestine inside Canada. That's just another, you know, I don't know what became wrong with Canada, man. When I was growing up, Canada used to be the ultimate. Not anymore. So Arimov, thank you so much for your super sticker. You wrote, everywhere you find Islam is find war and chaos. There is some truth to that. I won't shy away from saying it. You know, I spend a lot of time around sort of the Muslim world and worked and traveled, and so you kind of know, you know, it's kind of very, very, and this is why when you start to think about the population that is so misled, brainwashed, they don't even take step back and question things. You know, nothing wrong with questioning, but when you can't question religion, that's become a problem. So I see your point, and thank you so much, Aramov. You got another sticker here. Truly appreciate you. Islam colonized Arabicides everyone except Jews. Jews will not submit to Islamofascists. Jews will live free on their indigenous Jewish land. Yeah, well, they have their own religions. They have their own philosophies and so forth. You know, I was raised born near an area of Jewish community, believe it or not. So, and I never had any. I still remember when I was a kid. I remember the synagogue and all that stuff. Even though I'm not Jewish, so but you know, and I have Jewish friends. You know, it's once again, you always separate. It's like what I say about the Arab and Muslim world. When I say Arab and Muslim world, I'm referring to the leaders, not the people. People are wonderful. I saw it with my own eyes in Afghanistan. I saw it in Yemen. I saw it in Iraq. I saw it even in some parts in Africa. You know, wonderful human being. I saw it in Thailand. I ran to some people. They were Muslims there and so forth. You know, nice people. You know, it's the government. Same thing for us here. No difference. So, anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm going to be working on the topic for Ibrahim Traore. I'll make a decision on that soon, because I need to confirm some information, but suffice it to say that it was disturbing what the general has said. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.